Hello, in this video segment, I'm going to be demonstrating a few simple facts and misconceptions around trading binary options. First and foremost, why binary options? Why do we trade binary options? What's the benefits behind them? And what's the pitfalls behind them? Second is setting up your game plan to trade binary options. That involves risk management, and I'm going to begin by discussing why we even trade binary options. Now, in the above example, you'll see that I have a candlestick chart pattern for the S&P futures, and it's really indicative of no specific strategy. But you can see the top range is roughly 1417, and the bottom range is roughly 1409. Now, if you thought that a good move in the market was a buy zone around 1409 in the S&P, you'd probably say to yourself, well, it's a comfortable move higher when you see the downward trend reverse to the upside, and you want to take a simple trade. And again, I'm not demonstrating a strategy. I'm demonstrating the concept of why we even execute binary options as an asset class to trade after you have a strategy formulated. So in this demonstration, we have a downward move that seems to be thwarted to the upside. And that upside move is happening right around the 410 to 411 and a half range. So let's say we initiate a trade here at 1411 on this bar. Okay, let's span out and see what happens. We just got buried in that trade. 1384, 1380 from a buy price of 1410. Looking at this view, you can clearly see that if you had bought the S&P at 1410 in hopes for a bounce, and you never got that bounce, and the S&P actually capitulated like it did, you would stand to lose a tremendous amount of capital. Now with a binary option, that entry point may have been a fantastic entry point. And if you bought a binary option, you would have an upside potential and a downside potential, both limited. Meaning, if you bought $100 worth of upside call action in a binary option, and the binary expired at the end of the day above that 1411 number you thought the option was going to, the asset was going to trade above, you would make up to 89% of your money at Optimarkets.com or whatever broker you use. In this scenario, you bought 1411, you paid $100 in binary options for the upside, and the trade did not work. But you lost your investment of $100 and not 30 points in the S&P that could have equated to thousands upon thousands of dollars. So in short, binary options are a tool, are an asset where you can invest in the upside with a finite risk to the downside. Now, let's take another trade for example. Scrolling a little further, the next morning, if you decided that that was a good place to buy the S&P at 1390 level, and you decided to take a trade there, you could have taken a trade there for the same limited upside risk and limited downside risk. However, unlike the 40-point downslide that you had the next day, you only achieved a 5-point upside. Guess what? You made 89% on your money on that small upside move. The same amount of money you lost on that hugely significant downside move. So the point being, you have a defined amount of risk to put on that you could potentially lose, and a defined amount of upside potential that you could lose regardless of the size of that move. And that is huge when protecting your assets to the downside. With binary options, the term stop loss no longer needs to be applied. And if anyone has traded in any of the Forex arenas or equities arenas, you hear the first and foremost thing about risk management is make sure you have stops and trailing stops to protect your assets. With binary options, there is no need for stops. Your stop is a fixed amount that you're willing to risk per trade. And in this example, I showed you how a 40-point downside move had the same consequence as a 5-point or a 2-point downside move. And that was the capital you were willing to risk for that specific trade. Now in the upside, the same stands. Whether this trade made 2 points, 6 points, or 50 points, all that matters was you were closing above or closing below your option strike price. In that regard, you can say that binary options have a risk management feature built into them, and I am in firm agreement of that statement. Additionally, if you apply some asset management skills to binary options, you could further thwart any great negative impact to your account, like the explosions you hear so frequently, people blowing up their own personal trading accounts. And an easy way to do this is to use a rule of thumb. If you want to take a trade in your binary option account, let's say you wanted to start a binary option trading account with $500, which you can easily do so, and it is plenty of money to start effectively trading a small amount of money. I think an ideal asset management technique to use and apply to that account would be, as a rule of thumb, do not invest any more than 2 to 5% of that account value in any given trade. So on a $1,000 account, you're talking about anywhere between $20 and $50 trades, meaning go long or short $20 to $50 per $1,000 on your account. In this regard, very much like risk management tools that the binary option has built into them to protect your downside, you're protecting your downside on an asset level by not exposing yourself, or I should say overexposing yourself on any one given trade. This way, in a scenario when you wrongly invested an option at the 1411 level and you lost that trade, you could have easily made it back the next day. And although you lost 40 points here and you only gained 5 points here, the money wagered would have been the same, therefore your account even. And then, as the days progressed, you could have taken another winning trade, another winning trade, yet another winning trade, and perhaps even another winning trade. In summary, using binary options to limit your downside and take advantage of your upside from a place like Optimarkets.com is a great choice on how to properly manage your overall assets in your account and manage your stop loss limits on a per trade level and be successful at trading binary options.